Good evening, everyone. Europe is working feverishly to develop reusable rockets by 2030, just in time to watch China land on the moon. Slingshot Aerospace begins its UK contract to expand their satellite tracking network. Bezar, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, because it's been a company in stealth mode for a long, long time now, but it's just today announced a deal with SpaceX to launch 24 reusable in-space manufacturing payloads. And we're going to look into that, and that should be very interesting. We're going to look at, there's this thing called TechCrunch Disrupt, and it's a startup battlefield competition, as they call it. We're going to look at the finalists. At least one of them is space related. iSpace and Orbit Age signed an MOU to optimize refueling, recharging, and data transmission for lunar landers. All this with our guest, Taylor Winkelman. Tonight from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Interesting intro. Just so you know, our producer Sean Key isn't with us this evening, but Michael's filling in. We'll bring him in a minute. As you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what is it do we do? As you know, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support, as you see, like you see on your screen, and click that plain as day donate button, a little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. You don't know how much, but it sure does. We thank you in advance. Now, my oldest, longest space friend, Michael Lane, who's exhausted from trying to untie the endless knot, is here with us. Michael, come on in.
The very first thing you say is, our producer is not online today, and Michael is fumbling with the buttons, dials, and gizmos to try to make this show work.
You said fumbling, not me.
It's fumbling. I'll take the hit. It's every little piece of this is going to be like, how do I do that again? Like, I know.
It just shows us how much we miss Sean.
Right, exactly.
He's under the weather this evening.
Yeah. So, hey, how's things? What's going on?
It's okay. I'm still waiting on some big announcements that I can't talk about yet. Other than that, it's
aren't we all?
It's another really good day.
Yeah. Good.
In paradise.
Good. Yeah.
Well, it's actually cooling down here in Florida, so it's like, oh, this is great. I'm finally the swampy part's finally over.
We've officially moved into sweater weather. This is
it gets into the low 50s at night now, and you know, if I'm sitting out by the pool, as I'm gonna have to put something on to sit out there. But I'm so happy to do that. I've got 6 months of this now. It's like yes. Oh, thank you.
All right, what's going on? What are we going to talk about first?
Well, what is going on? Europe is at it again. They, you know how they've been trying to. They're sounding more and more like Baghdad Bob, right? They're out there. They're out there trying to say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and we're going to compete. We're going to build constellations to compete with Elon Musk. And but they've been lately. Their big thing has been. They decided they need to work on developing reusable rockets. Right. And now they're saying by the early 2030s, we're going to get it done.
it's not like they didn't know this was coming, right?
I know.
Uh,
But these are the
you
folks
know,
who gave you Ariane. So
right? The future brought to you by Ariane Space. Yeah, I mean, okay, credit where it's due. They're fine. They're doing it right.
Yep.
Uh, it's a pretty big rocket. I mean, good on them. It's almost 100 feet tall.
Yep.
And we've talked a lot about spaceports and ranges. So this one is the S range in Karunga, Sweden, near the Arctic Circle.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, right? They kind of get two wins with this, right? They get a more active spaceport and the development of a rocket.
Right. Right.
Uh,
They
but
yeah, they say they're building it around Prometheus, which is a high thrust, low cost methane liquid oxygen rocket engine. That sound familiar?
Mhm.
They'll power all their little demonstrator projects. We'll see how they have to work hard. They're catching up. They're in catch up mode, so it's gonna be a while, and you gotta I guess bear with them while they have to go through this.
Right.
It is tough, and China's working on that now too. They just did a test firing of theirs the other day, so. But they were watching Musk do this since 2008, and so it's like, oh, maybe we should do something now.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's not like operating in secrecy. It's not like Rocket Lab has people know who they are. I find it a little weird that it's taken this long to pivot.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard, but
yeah,
it's a bit of.
and of course, we have technical difficulties this evening. Michael, I've lost you completely. You're just frozen in place, dude. From my perspective, how you doing? You got that up there. There you are.
There's another article in a series they've been doing for a while. Tom, I'm just going on because I lost you for a minute, so I'm just going to talk about China for a second.
Okay. I lost you too, so it was like, yeah.
Yeah. Love live programming. That's why we do it. So China's aiming for track by 2030. Now that number keeps changing a slightly bit, and the language of it keeps changing a little bit because what we've been hearing, kind of in the DC service, by 28, by 2020, in reference to some of their national priorities and some of their national anniversaries. So, yeah, it's happening. Whether or not we get the moon first again, I've been saying firstly. I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna a second time. So, all right.
Yeah, it's
Tom. Are you back now for real? Can you just mic check? There's a little bit of lag, but at least I can hear you and see you. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah, I can. Yeah,
cool. Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, they always say by 2030. Yeah, but everybody we talk to says it's going to be before. When they say by 2030, they want it before, and so they're gonna. You can't relax with these guys.
No. Nope, you can't.
This is one of those nights, and I don't see anyone out there in the world looking at us either. So usually we have our usual crew of suspects that come in.
Right. Yeah, this is frustrating. Okay. And this is why Sean runs the thing, because I have problems from this side. All right. Well, let's kind of push on and see what we can get. Let's talk about Bexar.
Okay. Oh,
so
okay.
New company out of stealth.
Yeah. This is a weird company. Another company I've never heard of. Bezar. It's XAR apparently. Bezar. So I'm not really sure how to pronounce that even, but they are making. Slingshot was first. That's okay, but they are making reusable in space manufacturing payloads, and they call them fab ships.
I like that.
And they're going to integrate into the first stage booster of a Falcon 9, and they're going to run a manufacturing process, and then ideally return home safety. They're going to launch 24 of these things, 2 at a time, on 12 Falcon 9 launches, and the first one could be before the end of this year.
Yeah, before the end of this year. How do you? So I have so many questions about this, but seriously, first, hats off to them, right? How do you just decide that, the end of October, you're going to announce that within the next 2 months, you're going to have your first flight, that you've already built enough hardware to have, and you have enough in your war chest to have a dozen Falcon 9 flights? That is pretty badass. So hats off to these folks.
Right. These things are about the size of an average microwave oven, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to better manufacture semiconductor wafers. And in the end, it's supposed to be for a fraction of the cost. So even when factoring the cost to get to space and back.
Okay.
So that's
honestly, that is a brilliant business model. I mean, really, they've been doing it. Oh, we just got a message from Doug Plata, by the way. We can hear Tom, but Michael is spotty. So thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. We're definitely having trouble on this end.
Doug's here. Good. Hi, Doug.
So Tom,
the world. Yeah.
Tom, you carry the weight on this then if my mic's not working, because I'm not sure what's happening there.
Okay. All right.
All I was going to say was, how much money do you have to have raised in order to have a dozen flights booked? Right. So that's one question I'd really like to know the answer to. And then the other is, as soon as I saw this plan, I kind of thought it was brilliant in its simplicity, because we've already had hundreds of returns from a SpaceX vehicle, and all they got to do is send it up while it's in orbit and then bring it back down. It's a very fast process to make this work. Kind of genius, and I'm a little surprised no one picked up on that before. So, well,
the only thing that's not mentioned here is the money. How much did they raise to do this, and where from?
Great.
And great. So,
thanks, Doug. Yeah. No money numbers. No money numbers.
Well, it was founded only 2 years ago by someone named Ashley Pilipizin, I think. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. And she was an early employee at OpenAI, so maybe they got some OpenAI money.
Yeah.
To do some of this.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty smart. It really is. I bet you other people are going to watch this and say, "Oh, what else can we put on a temporarily orbiting or temporarily in space first booster?" So Pretty
That
neat.
is wild. But it's interesting using vacuum technology to remove as many contaminants as they can
Yeah.
and develop even pure semiconductors. So this is pretty amazing. By
Yeah.
taking the process to orbit, use the ultra high vacuum to make better wafers for a fraction of the cost. So this is and even though they're flying on a Falcon 9 for the first 12 flights, they're actually the fab ships are actually designed to be launch vehicle agnostic. So I'm wondering how that will fit in the world of ITAR.
Yeah, but they've got choices with Blue and Rocket Fab right off the bat, and maybe they've got choices with Firefly. If they can make a plug and play model that can go to any vehicle, they have a giant head start over competitors. It really is a very smart plan. I didn't see it coming at all. So good on them.
Right. And it's something that other folks could possibly emulate if they knew about it. That's why they were
Yeah,
so in stealth mode for a while to
yeah,
make sure they got it all down,
yep,
got their patents applied for. Yeah, I
yeah,
get it. It's a good
yeah,
model.
yeah. All right, moving on.
I do want to, back it up one. I have another thing here. A Slingshot Aerospace
Right. Okay.
is another outfit I haven't really heard much about, but they have a satellite tracking network
No,
that
no,
they
no, no,
built.
no. We've talked about Slingshot a
Oh, have
bunch.
we? Okay.
They're the guys. Well, here's what they've done. Slingshot is the guys that are using centripetal
Oh,
uh,
oh. I get what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. The
oh
ones we were
no.
looking at and going, can they really do that?
Yeah. So they've been I think that's who it is. But yeah, they've pivoted into tracking.
Uh-huh.
They've got some partnerships um, doing orbital tracking
Yep.
for debris and things like that.
Right. That's what this is. And they're going
Yeah.
to install 13 new optical sensor systems at 5 locations. And they've got a contract with the government of the UK to do this, I guess. And the head of the National Space Operations Center is glad to have them as their delivery partner for a global network of optical space sensors. And so just adding to the sensor net around the world. And they already operate 204 across 21 locations on 5 continents.
That's impressive.
But I guess governments are their primary customers. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty neat. Good on them. Okay. So TechCrunch Disrupt it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
They have they've been rocking the Silicon Valley environment for 15 years now. They used to do a different event a couple years ago that I was a part of, but this thing is great. And their startup battlefield, it's $100,000 grand prize, equity free, so they don't take anything for it. You just get up on stage. You got your 5-minute pitch and your 10 minutes of Q&A. There were 20 companies in this competition. There was another space company. I think it was Orbital Robotics, if I remember right. I think it was Orbital Robotics. There were 20 in the original competition. They got down-selected down to 5. And Charter Space
Right up front.
Right up front. I want to make sure that people kind of know who they are because we've already reached out to them. They're going to be a guest on our show,
Good.
so that's going to be cool. I met them about 3 weeks ago, remember last week we had Chris Lay on the show.
Yeah.
On Monday, we had Chris Lay on the show.
Right.
Chris introduced me to Charter. They are an investor in Charter. So, want to kind of see this startup company succeed out there. So, fingers crossed.
Right. Interestingly, yeah, they want to be a fintech company.
Yeah.
For space.
Right?
Specifically.
Right?
First
one I know of.
Yeah, I like to hear what our guest has to say about that here a little bit. But they're capturing software, they're using the data set to feed an underwriting interface that ties in with the largest insurance carriers in the market, with the goal, of course, of being faster, cheaper, and more reliable risk evaluation for said insurance, and power new forms of credit and non-dilutive funding for space companies, looking outside the standard VC or public markets. So, yeah, this will be an interesting thing if they can pull it off.
Yeah. When I talked to him about 3 weeks ago at Chris's event, one of the first things I said to him was, I'm a little bit well known for the phrase, if you can't insure it, you can't build it. Yep. And that's in reference to my elevator.
Right.
But I think it's true about all of space, right? So yeah, this kid, Yuk Chi Chan, really nice guy from Singapore. We were supposed to meet this week, and he got accepted into this competition. So he kind of got a little bit busy, but this is a pretty good article, and it really says if you can build the way they want you to build, then the insurance markets will join, and that brings hundreds of billions of dollars of liquidity into the system, and that's what he's really banking on. Sure. So it was a pretty fascinating one-on-one conversation. I'm really looking forward to him being on the show.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I guess before we get to our guest, we have one final thing. We've talked about iSpace before, and they just signed an MOU with an outfit called Orbit Aid Aerospace Private Limited to collaborate on sustainable lunar exploration. Now, they announced that in Sydney about a month ago, but they're developing technology for seamless docking and refueling during lunar missions. And they're going to, an Orbit Aid is going to integrate its standardized interface for docking and refueling payload with iSpace's lunar landers. And they want to demonstrate this capability on future missions. And it's supposed to support mission extension in the cislunar environment and enable more durable lunar operations. They want to optimize refueling, recharging, and data transmission for lunar landers and support deep space exploration beyond Earth orbit in general. And it's a growing space cooperation between India and Japan. And they just completed a zero gravity test on their interface this last December. So they've already confirmed their operation capability. And Orbit 8 also planned its in-space refueling demo mission to launch later this year, perhaps. And we've only got a couple months left in the year, so they're still looking to do this. And do India's first dedicated in-space refueling effort. And so this is a cool partnership, and we'll be watching this carefully to see how it goes.
Yeah. All of this is new to me, so I'm gonna kind of follow up with this and see if there's something interesting happening there. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
That's kind of what I got for tonight. I found all sorts of great stuff on the Space Review this week, which is of interest to me, but it's not really intersection of space and money. It's historical stuff and a lot of other interesting things. So I just love Jeff Faust and what he does with that platform.
Sure.
And so I'm just, it just tickles my history bone in particular.
I saw that. That's the one kind of like mapping the history of
yeah,
that was cool. Yeah. All right, let's bring in our guest. Yeah,
let's bring in our guest by all means. Our our guest tonight. I've only covered the surface a little bit. I mean, she'll talk more about what she's done and what hasn't she done. My God. Our guest tonight is Taylor Winkelman. She's currently working as a consultant for health security and humanitarian outreach issues in the D.C. area. She once served as a legislative assistant in the office of Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts, primarily working on foreign relations, military and veterans affairs, science and space, and global health. She's contributed to agriculture, animal rights, veterinary issues, particular attention to humanitarian crises, international development, human rights, the Outer Space Treaty. I want to hear views on that. And, of course, global health issues for human health. She also spent 6 years in the Army as a cryptologic voice intercept operator. She has a master's in public health and a doctor of veterinary medicine from the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine. And she's also on the board of the Space Frontier Foundation. She's heading up a project there that we're going to hear about. And that's just scratching the surface of what this woman does. I'm so happy to have her. Taylor Winkelman, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet you both.
Yeah, great. It's actually our previous guest.
Aaron
Osterly,
suggested that we bring you on. Yeah.
They recommended you. So, I wasn't sure what I was looking at first. I saw that. I finally saw the hook and the light bulb went off. It's like, okay, yeah, we got to do this. Yeah. So
he's a good friend and a good colleague, and thanks, Aaron, for setting
me up. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He is a very good guy. So tell us there's just so much going on with you. Tell us your origin story. How did you get here? You've done all these different things in all sorts of places, and you ended up in space.
Yeah.
And now you're here at the intersection of space and money. So we're gonna.
Yeah.
Did you explain yourself? God, come on.
Oh, that I could. The answer is accidentally. Honestly, my career has been
like
a series of fortunate events, as it were. I started as an Arabic linguist and deployed to Iraq and saw a lot of animal welfare and issues there. And that actually spurred me to go to vet school and become a veterinarian. That's a very long story that I made incredibly short.
Right, yeah. But, I'm a former U.S. Marine, and I did kind of the same, leapfrog from place to place to place, and where we start does not necessarily determine where we end. So very cool. Did you, by the way, did you go to DLI?
I did.
Down in Monterey? Yeah,
I did, and even that was more or less the job choice was an accident. I'm from Santa Cruz, just north of there.
Oh,
and my brother and sister. My half brother and sister are twins and they're 15 years younger than me. So when I was 17 years old, I was like, I'm ready to leave home, but I don't want to leave them. Right. And so I literally went to a recruiter and was like, hey, what's near here? And he looked at me and laughed and he's like, you're in California. The real estate here is not cheap. We don't have a ton of bases here. And I was like, right, but I want to stay here. Yeah. And he just looked at me and he's like, this crazy child, you could be a linguist. And I was like,
Monterey? Okay.
Cool. What's a linguist do? I'll just do it. That's fine. What's that job?
And I'll take that job.
I didn't even really pay attention to what he said beyond you're going to learn another language. And I was like, cool, whatever, fine. Right. And my ship date for basic training was 9/11.
Wow.
As you might imagine, I learned Arabic.
Yeah, what a surprise. Arabic seems like a really useful skill at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't choose it. Like I chose very few things, and the reasons I had for choosing those things were usually not, ooh, I'm really good at this. It was, ooh, I have this ulterior motive that I want to fulfill, and I'm going to do whatever it is I need to do to fulfill that. So it was a lot of things like that happened. When I went to vet school, a couple of things happened. One, I realized that clinical medicine, and I apologize to every single clinician whoever hears me say this, but for me, clinical medicine is not a fit. It's boring for me. And I know that sounds crazy. I would have been an emergency room person if I'd stayed in clinical medicine because it's the most exciting thing for my brain.
The guy that's on the show that's watching is Dr. Doug Plata. He's an emergency room physician. So.
Hi. So yeah, kindred spirit, like you understand. Yeah. But for me, it was you're solving the same 15 problems over and over again. And so when I talk to people about, am I going to be suited for clinical medicine? I say, when you were in school, when you were taking science and math, did you like physics or did you like math? And they all look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, but the answer tells me everything I need to know. If you liked math, you like knowing how to solve the problem. If you like physics, you like applying the tools you have to new problems. And I realized I'm the physics person. So I went to one of my advisors and I said, dear God, help me. I have to finish my degree, but I also don't want to be in clinical medicine. And there's not a lot in vet school that they're going to do that'll steer you away from clinical medicine. It's med school.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's
they said, she said, get the master's degree. And I was like, yeah, everybody majors in like focuses their concentration epidemiology. And as previously stated, don't like math.
Right.
And she said, you should do policy. And I, again, didn't ask questions, went, sounds good, sign me up. And started that, had an amazing, I was a research assistant for my amazing capstone advisor, who basically, her name's Grace Bagwell Adams, shout out to Grace. She basically gave me free reign to take my research anywhere I wanted, taught me a lot of cool research. But as a veterinarian, I did research on the Millennium Development Goals out of the UN. And I still remember that I had a class that I kind of blew off that said, where are you going to be in 5 years? And I wrote, this is so stupid. Like, I don't want to do this. I have no idea where I'm going to be. And I wrote, I'm either going to be at the State Department or WHO. And I turned it in going like, screw you,
right.
like, professor, that none of this is going to happen.
Right.
And 5 years later, almost to the day, I started at WHO.
Checkbox. Excellent.
So that was crazy.
It's kind of fun how we like write our own crystal ball. We can write our own crystal ball. We can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy. And then the reason I ended up in space policy, I did a AAAS fellowship. AAAS is the American Association for the Advancement of Science. I did that. That's how I ended up in Congress. And I ended up in Senator Markey's office. Again, accident. They usually go for climate folks. But the LD was out for a couple of weeks, like a very key couple of weeks. So I didn't place anywhere because I really wanted foreign policy, and it's really hard to get foreign policy. And so I was one of the few left. And as it turns out, like my background, my family are Irish Catholic, and Ed Markey is Irish Catholic. And I'm a veteran, and Ed's a veteran, but also has a veteran and foreign affairs team. So that was like a really natural fit. And he was like, you can do all of this. And I said, that's great. While we were splitting up foreign affairs stuff, this was 2016. In 2017, it was the 50-year anniversary of the Outer Space Treaty. And one of our team was going through kind of the assignments of like, how do you split up the portfolio? And he was like, oh yeah, the multilateral stuff, the Outer Space Treaty, it's 50-year anniversary. And I said, the what? He said, Outer Space Treaty. And I said, there's a what? And I got so excited because I didn't know at that point, because I was a veterinarian,
right,
that there was such a thing. And I was like, this is super cool, and I want to know about it. And they were like, very good, it's in your portfolio. Go read the Outer Space.
Like, nerd. Okay.
Complete nerd. Like my favorite day in that office was when the Fermi Lab came to visit, and I got to sit down and just talk to them about their science. Nice. My colleague was like, you lost me 30 seconds in. And I was like, I loved theoretical physics in high school. I'm biggest nerd. Nice. So they gave me Outer Space Treaty and Foreign Affairs, and then Ed got the Space and Science Subcommittee ranking membership. And our LD's husband worked in remote sensing, so she had to recuse herself from that portfolio. Otherwise, it would have normally gone to her. And she was like, I heard you like the Outer Space Treaty. And I was like, yeah, I also like dinosaurs. Like, I don't know what this conversation has to do with anything. And she was like, we're going to give you the space policy portfolio. And Ed Markey's never done space policy. So very much good luck.
Buckle up. Yeah.
So I ended up like walking into these meetings with people like Nick Cummings, who's now at SpaceX, but he was Bill Nelson's guy, Suzanne Gillen, who was John Thune's person. And then we had meetings with folks like Peter Marquez, like within weeks. And I had no idea what I was doing. And people are like bombarding me with all this space stuff. And I just like a sponge, I just kind of got into it, and I started asking questions, and people took me seriously and started answering them. And I ended up really, really, really loving it, like so much, because one, I had so much freedom.
Yeah.
Nobody had done it before. We didn't have an established office policy, agenda or anything. So I had the freedom to actually be creative with it. And, space for us, very salient issue. For the general public, not very salient.
so
So it's a highly bipartisan environment to work in. And, people aren't, it's not like when you're in healthcare where it's like everything that we do is going to be micromanaged and watched. It's very much like, no, let's sit down, let's compromise, let's work on it. And so I came to really love the space policy environment. It's actually how I met Aaron. And then after I left the Hill, Aaron was like, would you like to teach our fly-in every year how to talk to Congress? And I was like, oh, would I ever?
So you're part of the March Storm team?
I've been training the fly-in every year for probably 5 years now.
I didn't know that. Right on.
Yeah,
we talked about that last week, and I was a part of that community way back 2005, 2006 timeframe. That's
when we're old guys on this, and
right.
I'm gonna get my cane out. Long ago,
right
when we were doing March Storm.
I just had dinner with Bob Werb. Shout out to Bob.
Oh, great.
Bob. Yeah. Good
friends with Bob.
Absolutely. Yeah. He funds us sometimes. So, yeah. And he's on our board too. And so, the thing with this, I love how you've kind of gotten this and one thing here and one thing there, but it led to this. And it's like, this is actually not such a unique origin story as you might think, because a lot of us all were doing other things in life, but always had this deep-rooted hidden agenda. Yeah. And it was going to come out sooner or later. I've been in space advocacy, 30 years now, probably. Yeah. I got back into it in the late 90s with Bob Zuber and all those, and the Zubets and all those guys that were doing interesting things. And for example, I was one of the founders of the business track at the International Space Development Conference.
Oh, so cool.
And that's how that started. And then I ended up joining the Entrepreneurship and Investment Committee at IAC. And so, and we're still doing that to this day. So, and that's when the Space Frontier Foundation pulled me into doing the New Space Business Plan competition back in 2009. And then in 2016, we split off and formed our own organization. So that's kind of the pedigree for all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up with a podcast, Michael.
I love it.
What the hell we do? What the hell are we doing?
I ended up doing a keynote at one of the New Space conferences just before the pandemic. It was super fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Definitely tell Werb that you were on this show and you had a great time, and that Tom Wilson and Michael Lane are clearly geniuses, and and that what we're doing is good for the whole community. Just kind of
lie to my friend. Got it.
Slide that in carefully into a conversation somewhere.
Sure.
I've never had more fun in all the time.
Right. So let's swing this back to Space Frontier Foundation, your board, Pathfinder. Where do we want to go with that? We got about 20 minutes.
Oh, we got a lot of time. So, give yourself a title.
I did give myself a title. So, Pathfinder is a project within the Space Frontier Foundation. And I had to give myself a title. And so I very, very boldly gave myself the title Chief Science Officer, which sounds cool and very, very Star Trek. Yeah. Glad y'all get the reference. I also named Pathfinder. I should never admit this out loud because it's going to come back to haunt me. But Pathfinder, I called it that. It's called that in theory because our goal is to find a way forward, right?
Yeah.
But it's called that in reality because I'm obsessed with The Martian. And the Pathfinder rover is one of my favorite characters in it. And so, yep, absolutely did that. So I will tell you the story about how it started, which is I adjunct at Georgetown. I teach international policy, which every year we have a week called Space Camp, where I basically teach the history of the space race and international implications and all that stuff. It's very fun. But every one of my students is assigned a different country, and they have to come up with a problem and how they're going to solve it multilaterally, right? So just basic policy stuff. And last year, one of my students came to me. Her country was Nicaragua, and she said, I want to solve mosquito-borne disease. And I went, okay, great, let's solve it. What's the problem? Because mosquito-borne diseases everywhere. So what's the problem? She's like, well, it's getting worse. It's getting worse because they're deforesting. And I said, okay, why won't they just stop deforesting and start reforesting? And she said, because they're getting money out of it. And I said, okay. So you need to find a way to give them money to reforest. And she said, yeah. And I was like, great. Have you heard of the carbon credit market in Norway? There's your solution.
Right.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Go
Right.
away. Like,
Right.
I solved your problem. And I felt really, really smug for like 30 seconds. And then I stopped and I went, holy shit, there's going to be a huge problem in the carbon credit market. And the reason there's going to be a huge, come with me on this fun economics journey.
Right.
The reason there's going to be a huge problem is the number of sellers in the market will be somewhere in 150 to 160. The number of buyers, state buyers, not corporate buyers, but state buyers, most corporate buyers are either going to be state backed or like backing states, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It'd be about 40, maybe.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's
And
awful.
that creates a buyer's market, which creates intense competition amongst sellers, which creates incentives to cut corners because you have to cut prices so much, which creates problems with credibility, and it creates problems with sellers exiting the market, which means if we're actually trying to transition off of fossil fuels, which we will have to by the end of the century, whether we want to or not, we'll run out, and get to all of those things, we're going to have a less than optimal market. You actually have to do something to fix this market. And I went, oh shit. Oh God, what are we going to do? And at the same time, at the foundation, I was working with the space-based solar team who came to me and said, what we're really interested in is getting the developing world to get to space-based solar before anybody else. And I laughed. Like, I laughed for a really long time.
Oh, no, that's a good plan. Okay, go ahead.
It's not. When the technology pretty much already exists in like the big four where it currently exists, like, you're not going to get the developing world to own that technology and develop that technology first. Like, the race is already lost. But it's a really good tool for potentially use in the carbon credit market, for use in development economics to try and create pathways towards aid independence, right? And full participation in the global market and global economy, which leads ultimately to like full participation in space economy and, space programs and all kinds of great things that we all want to see. So I very much was kind of like, oh, so we need to solve this problem. And the issue is we need somebody who can do global diplomacy, national policy advocacy and diplomacy, corporate diplomacy, more or less, and research. And I was like, where do I find such a person? I started looking around, like looking for the adultier adult in the room. And I went, oh, no, nope, that's me.
That's me, right?
Oh, shit, that's me. So I went to the foundation and I said, I want to start this project. And they were like, what's the connection to space? And I said, well, there's space-based solar, which we already have a project on. But like remote sensing, monitoring and verification is going to rely on monitoring on remote sensing. The space economy is going to be necessary to do this. There's so much that just sort of a lot of people don't recognize that space goes into. Yeah. So the foundation basically gave me the green light. I've got 30 interns. I've got a fellow. I've got Aaron's working on it with me. Yeah. Georgetown students are highly motivated and will do anything you like for author credit. So we've got like 15 projects in the pipeline that are all either supporting what we're doing or their own capstone and stuff. So I also get to train people so that I'm not the only person in the world doing something like this.
Awesome.
That's what Pathfinder is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The short version.
So I want to talk more about that. So just we're going to ask a question from Doug here in a second, but
Okay.
Did the person from Nicaragua get her? Did she come up with a plan?
Yeah. So the plan for that one, because the carbon credit market is new, I was like, you can go ahead with the plan that we came up with. And what you can do is basically enter into a bilateral agreement with Norway, because Norway's actually got a couple of those already in place. And so there's a good model. We know that they're a buyer. We know that they support things like that. So notionally, that's what you do. But if you're looking at going ahead into the future, the solution that I've come up with so far from the seller side is that sellers actually need to do pre-market negotiation. They need to decide amongst themselves what's getting to market and what the prices are ahead of time. The UN can't do it. The UN doesn't have enforcement power. And
charter, yeah.
Like, so grateful for having spent 5 years at WHO and working across the UN, because it gave me a lot of insight. But, so we're actually talking to the UN about this a little bit and saying, hey, we're thinking this. What do you think? And so we're kind of starting some of those conversations already, which is really exciting. But yeah, I think a lot of it is coordinating across a lot of different incentives and a lot of different sort of bottom lines, and trying to create, this is anathema to say, but trying to create as many win-win situations as we can.
Okay.
So,
and so you've got.
I want to get to Doug's question.
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
okay. But because it's kind of right up your alley as as a vet and a biologist.
Okay.
Doug says we need to do studies with animals and centrifuges on the moon and Mars to determine the artificial gravity prescription for healthy gestation before anyone gets pregnant on the way to or on Mars. And he was asking if you're, with your vet background, does that challenge interest you at all, in addition to everything else you're doing?
So as just like a hobbyist and interested in things, yes, it really does. There's actually a great book that just came out by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith. Actually, Michael, some of your stuff is in there in their first book, Soonish. But their second book is called City on Mars.
Oh, I knew about the City on Mars. I didn't know Soonish. I'll have to
Soonish is like 10 years old, but the space elevator was in there, and spin launch is in there too. So that was how I learned about those technologies, because, again, nerd, I bought that book. But what's really interesting is that we can't yet figure out how actual physical sex happens in 0 and low G. So we're going to have to do like in vitro fertilization with these animal models. And I'm really fascinated by this. One of the things I love out of the ISS research that I'm obsessed with is that mutations happen faster in space. And we're not sure why. We don't 100% know. I have private thoughts that maybe just microgravity and zero gravity histones don't wrap as tightly. And so for anybody who's like familiar with how DNA works, it's just looser and therefore can float around a little bit more, can dissociate a little bit more, and can get messed up a little bit more easily. But so we also don't know how that's going to affect growth. We don't know how microgravity is going to affect like cellular growth of an entire organism just yet. There's a lot of questions in that, and I'm super fascinated by it. It's
Yeah, there was there was something. There's a little piece of history that we can throw into this too, because there's something. I think it was actually some guys at MIT came up with this in like 2001, and they called it the Mars Gravity Biosatellite. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, it's in a nutshell what it was. It was an Apollo-style capsule, a cone. Inside the base of it, the round base, there's like just a big toroid, and inside the toroid you put your subjects, usually mice, fertile mice, and then you launch this thing past lunar orbit, and then you spin the capsule on its longitudinal axis, and of course that creates spin gravity inside the toroid, and you can set it for moon, you can set it for Mars, and you leave them up there for a month or so and see if they do what they do best, and see what happens, and then bring the thing back.
Okay. I
don't know. It didn't at the time. It didn't catch on as a viable project, but I thought there was a simple way to do it, and at least somebody was thinking about, hey, we need to do partial gravity experiments.
It was it was a combination. University of Washington was involved, MIT, and either it was King's College or a group in Australia, but they couldn't. They had a really strong technical team, and the politics and the ethics and the finances of it, just they couldn't get past it.
Yeah, and the Zuber factor too probably had something to do with it as well.
But it's so overdue. It's so overdue. I know that's not your kind of research area, but if you want to throw that into Pathfinder, is like squish that in as a to-do item, it'd be super helpful.
I mean, I'll put it on the list.
Okay, good.
Why not?
I mean, for real, but yeah.
No, I think
I've got some ideas on how you could engineer that quickly inside current spaces. So I'll put something together and fire it off.
I'd love to see. Absolutely, yes. I'd love
to.
So Pathfinder is really focused on carbon credits, which is loosely connected to space. I get that. But you also kind of had this interesting role in creating space stations. So talk about that as part of it. And we only have about 9 minutes, so we're gonna that short answer on that one.
So this actually comes out of being a veterinarian, and this is I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there that this came out of literally knowing only the Outer Space Treaty and walking into rooms and hearing people talk about things like asteroid mining and lunar mining and things that, to me 10 years ago this is science fiction. This is
we call them cults. We call them cults. Yep.
Sure. But I was fairly quickly convinced that this would be a thing eventually. And I said, okay, there is an article in the Outer Space Treaty that we are party to and also wrote. But there's an article that says you can't back contaminate the Earth. And there's a real serious concern of what are you collecting out in space, and you want to bring it back to Earth, and that's how you extract value. Sure, got that. How are you going to convince us that it's safe to bring back to the surface? Like 1 moon rock, 2 moon rocks, I think we're not too scared of. But when you start bringing back quantities of things, or you start using mass quantities of water in space, even because you're not supposed to contaminate celestial objects. So the moon, Mars, you have to bring water to those places or extract water. How are you going to prevent that? And I had an answer in my head. And I remember that meeting because I got like bulldogish about it and I wouldn't let it go because they wouldn't give me the answer I wanted. And the answer I wanted was, we maintain a national laboratory on the ISS. Okay. And national laboratories have 2 meanings. One, it's a place where government-funded research happens and the government runs it. But it also, in the public health world, is where we do all of our testing, right? So if I think that there's a reportable disease in an animal herd, I take a sample, I send it off to a national lab. The national lab does that testing, right? So it's like, there's a national lab in space. You swab the stuff you want to take back to Earth. You culture it in a petri dish for a few days. If nothing grows, you're good. And if something grows, for God's sake, don't bring it down.
Right. All right.
And everybody quarantine, like everybody freeze, right?
Right.
And so then this became my thing that I was so concerned with. And I said, oh my God, we have to maintain a national lab in space. And I wasn't concerned about it until then I saw that the ISS was due to be decommissioned. And much like the shuttle program, we had no replacement idea. And so I came into one of our sessions one day where we were writing, I think it was the Space Frontier Bill of all things, or the Space Commercialization Bill, something like that. And I said, oh, guys, here's a provision. We need to maintain a national laboratory in space.
Yep.
And they said, weird, but okay. And the language I had, because I came from a progressive office and I knew I was walking into a bipartisan situation, the language I had was, the government shall maintain a national laboratory in space on a government platform. And they said, is this part necessary? And I was like, would you like it on a commercial platform instead? And they said, sure. And I said, how about either or? And that was where that language came from. And now you see it in like every Republican proposed space bill.
Right.
And
Hi, congrats. Good for us. Yep.
So
good for everybody.
We need to pass it though. Like that needs to come to fruition because it is actually quite important for us to do that. So that was how I kind of started with like my personal agenda of what we need to have in space is we need that. And then I found out a couple of years ago that Orbital Reef saw that language and went, ooh, we should form.
We should do that. Yeah, we should.
Here's Orbital Reef.
Checkbox. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. 5 years. Imagine 5 years. Pull out your crystal ball. What does the future look like for Pathfinder? Carbon credits, are they a thing? Do we care? Do we have space-based solar power? What's 5 years look like?
5 years from now. Okay, so 5 years will be what? 2030. So the Chinese have said that they'll have space-based solar, their first demonstration of space-based solar, up by 28. Do I believe that they're going to stick to that timeline? Probably not. Do I believe that that will happen? Yes. So 2030, 2035 seems sort of reasonable estimate for something like that. And I don't think that the Chinese are going to be super concerned about whether or not it's profitable, because I think it's going to be part of their Belt and Road initiative. They send it into space. So the United States, I think, will be competing with that. We may do what we've always done with our space races and just kind of go, oh, it's happening.
Oh, it's happening. We should maybe get started.
Let's just do it really fast and throw a bunch of money at it and just make it happen. So I think that we might see that happen. We might see sort of an explosion around that.
Welcome to America.
Yep.
Been here before. Yep.
We are nothing if not last minute, like coming through in the clutch, kind of, ninth inning kind of a country.
It's worked for 250 years, so why change? Yeah.
Why not? So for Pathfinder, I think at that point, assuming we get funding, assuming we hit the milestones we want, within 5 years, I think we would have a private sector roundtable where companies that are interested in purchasing carbon credits or partnering with like other companies that could provide the projects that would produce carbon credits, have that in existence. Hopefully have some trading blocks set up throughout, like regional or global, and have some legislation that would essentially looking to replace USAID type aid with projects that will encourage development, right? Like developmental growth and economic growth that makes countries aid independent. So for me, like 5 years, the beginnings of that would be my magical, everything goes right and nobody hates me enormously.
Okay.
Kind of a thing. Yeah. So that's 5 years from now.
All right. So with our last,
we go for 25.
Yeah.
25 years.
With 1 minute. You got 1 minute.
And she's still going to look the same. You know this.
Right. Yeah.
It's, this.
Thank you to Korean skincare. So people are on the moon and Mars. We've replaced our critical minerals. We're not on fossil fuels anymore because we're practically run out. There's much more recycling happening because we have a lot of non-renewables that we just are going to be forced to recycle. Synthetics will be a big thing. Hopefully there will be cancer vaccines. 25 years in the future, I'm really excited about, honestly. I think there will be a lot of breakthroughs. Some will be space-based, some will be focused on health on the planet, health and livability, survivability on Mars, Moon, and beyond. That was under a minute, right?
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Guys like me will probably be the recipient of some of those those breakthroughs if I'm going to make it another 25 years. So we'll see.
Don't even.
Yeah.
How I asked this last week and it kind of surprised somebody. So how many people are living continuously in space? Doesn't matter what destination, orbit, moon, Mars, whatever. How many people are living in space?
One way?
In 5 years and 25 years?
5 years, not many. 25 years, I think we've got maybe 1,000 scale, not even 1,000 scale, 100 scale.
100 scale. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that takes time. And a lot of people who claim to be willing are probably not going to be as willing when faced with the actual decision.
Right on. Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay. Taylor Winkelman, Renaissance woman. She does it all and does it extremely well. And I can't wait to catch up and have you on here again. This is a great time. And we could spend a lot more time talking. And I guarantee you we shall in the coming year. So thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you again.
Bye.
Night, everyone.
Okay, Monday we're taking the night off for a rerun because I and maybe the ailing Sean Key will be, and maybe Michael too, going to be at the Space Settlement Summit at the University of Central Florida Monday and Tuesday. There's an economic summit happening after that that's being sponsored by The Economist. I know the other Sean Graham, and I are probably going to crash that on Wednesday at least. And so we're still working on a guest for Thursday, but we got so many good guests in the pipeline. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So stay tuned on social media. I'll be posting about that. So we're taking Monday off, but Thursday is going to be great. And the following week is going to be even better. So stay tuned, guys. From the news desk, the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.